Hey everyone! So today we're going to dive into some really fascinating new research that gives us a completely new way to think about the patterns in our lives. It's like a map that can help us finally understand why we get stuck and maybe, just maybe, how to find our way back into the flow. First things first, let's talk about a feeling I think we all know way too well. That feeling of being stuck. You know the one. It feels like you're just spinning your wheels, cycling through the same one or two parts of your life, while all the other important stuff feels like it's a million miles away. I mean, seriously, have you ever felt like you are just in a rut that you cannot shake, where all of your energy is just getting sucked into your job, or maybe one specific relationship, and everything else just kind of fades into the background? Well, that's because our lives aren't simple, right? They're this incredibly complex web of all these different parts. You've got your health, your family, your work, your hobbies. And feeling stuck, well, that usually means our attention, our focus, has gotten trapped in just one tiny corner of our own personal map. So what if we could actually see that map? What if we could visualize the patterns of our attention to see exactly where we are, where we're getting stuck, and where the hidden paths might be to get us out? That's the huge idea we're digging into today. And this is where things get really, really cool. A recent paper proposes a very specific and honestly kind of beautiful shape for this map of our lives, a dodecahedron. Yep, that 12-sided shape you probably haven't thought about since geometry class. So why a dodecahedron of all things? Well, it's got 12 faces, which turns out to be a pretty perfect number for modeling about a dozen key areas of life. It's complex enough to actually mean something, but it's simple enough for our brains to actually wrap our heads around it.
Okay, so any good map needs a legend, right? It needs some rules. So let's get into how this whole dodecahedron model actually works. It's surprisingly intuitive once you see the pieces.
All right, so here's the breakdown. Think of each of the 12 faces as a major part of your life. You know, health, family, craft, even play. The 30 edges that connect all these faces, those are the natural pathways, the transitions we make between these different areas. And your attention? Well, that's the currency. That's the energy that's moving all across this map. Now, the researchers use a kind of technical term, probability distribution, but don't let that scare you. All it really means is a snapshot of your focus. On any given day, where is your energy? Is 80% on the work face? Is only 2% on the health face? That snapshot tells you exactly where you are on your map. But here's what's so powerful about this. This model doesn't just describe the map, it can actually measure your state. It can put a number on the difference between feeling stuck and being in a state of flow. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Being stuck means your energy is trapped, concentrated on just one or two faces. The paper has this amazing physics analogy for it. It's like a Mott insulator, which is a material where electrons are packed so tight they literally can't move. But flow? That's like a superfluid, a state of matter that moves with zero friction. It means your attention moves freely, easily, across tons of different faces of your life. You have high coverage of your map. And to turn this vague feeling into a hard number, the model introduces something called the Stuckness index. Yep, a single score that tells you just how trapped, how localized your energy has really become. So how do they calculate it? Well, it's a mix of three key ideas. First is entropy, which is just a fancy way of asking, how spread out is your attention? Is it all in one spot, or is it distributed? Second is the Gini coefficient, which is usually used in economics to measure wealth inequality. But here it asks, how unequal is your focus? Are you giving 90% to one thing and ignoring everything else? And third, return time, which is exactly what it sounds like. How long does it take you to mentally leave that one area that's dominating your thoughts? And as you can see here, there's a default recipe for this index. About 40% of your score comes from how spread out your focus is, with the other two metrics splitting the rest. The big takeaway here is that this isn't just a metaphor anymore, it's a system you can actually measure. Which, of course, brings us to the most important question of all. If this map can tell us that we're stuck, can it show us a way out? And the answer is a resounding yes. The model gives us a really clear framework for actually doing something about it. So the paper lays out two main ways to get unstuck. The first is called edge weight tuning. All that means is you intentionally make it easier to move from the area you're stuck in to one you want to be in. It's like you're greasing the path between two faces on the map. The second is a reboot. Basically, a mental refresh that helps you bust out of that rut and go explore totally new parts of your map. And this isn't just some abstract theory. As this quote from the paper points out, these ideas line up perfectly with real techniques used in therapy, like helping a client bias out of a trap or encouraging them to broaden the field of their attention. It's grounded in real practice.
So let's step back for a second. Why is a model like this so important? What's the real point of putting our messy, complicated lives onto this neat geometric shape?
Well, the real power here is that it takes something that usually feels so messy and vague, like self-improvement, and it turns it into a structured system. It makes the invisible patterns of our lives visible. It gives us a framework we can test, we can share. And most importantly, it offers us clear, actionable things we can do, like tuning our edges or hitting reboot, to make real, lasting changes.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. If you were to map your own life on this dodecahedron right now, where would all your energy be? Would you be stuck in one corner? Or would you be flowing freely all across the map? What would your map look like?